I released the alien woman. Days later, she came back with a gift. Elias Trent had landed there with a single mission: study the unusual energy readings coming from a remote canyon system. As a xenobiologist, he had spent years researching life on distant worlds, but Korath 9 was different. There was a strange hum in the air, a vibration that seemed alive. Most people called it unsettling, but Elias found it fascinating. He set up his portable research outpost near the edge of a deep canyon. The equipment he carried was standard for deep space exploration: scanners, containment fields, communication arrays, and a few drones for scouting. By the second day, the readings had grown more intense, and his scanners detected movement, something large and warm-blooded, inside a natural energy pocket, a sort of glowing field that flickered like the northern lights. Curiosity burned in Elia's chest. He had been trained to observe, to record, and to avoid unnecessary interference. But staring at the readings, he could not resist the feeling that whatever lived in that field was intelligent. With caution, he approached. The energy pocket shimmered and shifted, almost as if it were aware of him. Then he saw her, an alien woman, tall and slender, with skin that shimmered in colors he could not name. Her eyes were large and luminous, reflecting the purple sky and the strange energy around her. She was unlike any life form Elias had ever seen. She was trapped inside a faint, glowing barrier, an invisible cage that hummed and pulsed. The scans revealed it was some form of containment field, advanced beyond anything humanity had developed. Elias felt a mix of fear and awe. "Hello," he said softly, unsure if she could understand. His voice sounded strange in the canyon, swallowed by the wind. The alien woman did not respond. She only stared, tilting her head slightly as though assessing him. Her gaze was intense, yet not hostile. Elias checked his comms, speaking to the outpost supervisor. "I've found something unusual. I believe it's intelligent life trapped in an energy field." There was silence on the other end, followed by a cautious response. "Do not interfere, Dr. Trent. Containment is likely for a reason. Maintain distance and report." Elias frowned. He had been trained to follow orders, but his instincts told him this situation required judgment, not protocol. Over the years, he had seen humans make mistakes by trusting only rules. Sometimes, moral courage mattered more than strict procedure. He knelt beside the scanner and activated a probe to analyze the field. It hummed as if alive, responding to every movement he made. Then the alien woman moved inside the field, gracefully gliding closer. She did not touch the probe, but her eyes locked on Elias, and he felt a strange connection, as if she could see his thoughts. Hours passed. Elias worked tirelessly, studying the field's patterns and the alien's reactions. She seemed to understand him, though communication was impossible. Every gesture, every tilt of her head suggested intelligence, curiosity, and perhaps even emotion. As the day turned into night, the violet sky darkened, stars appearing in swirls that seemed unreal. Elias felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. He had discovered something that could change humanity's understanding of life, yet it was also delicate and fragile. The question pressed on him: should he release her? The containment field was sophisticated, almost alive. It pulsed and adapted to his instruments, but Elias discovered a small, repeating pattern, a flaw subtle but consistent. It was enough, he realized, to temporarily open a gap in the barrier. He hesitated. The instructions from command were clear: observe, do not interfere. Yet he felt the weight of another truth: sometimes the right action was not written in manuals or rules. Finally, he acted. Using a combination of energy recalibration and careful timing, he created an opening in the field. It shimmered, and for the first time, the alien woman stepped forward freely. Her movements were fluid, almost like water flowing over rocks. She did not flee, she did not attack. Instead, she paused, looking at Elias with those deep, luminous eyes. Elias took a deep breath. "You're free," he whispered. The alien woman tilted her head, her gaze studying him intently. Then, in a movement so graceful it seemed choreographed, she extended a delicate hand toward him, not threatening but acknowledging. Elias felt his heart race. He had no idea what she understood, what she felt, but something passed between them, a moment of silent recognition, as if the universe itself had paused to witness it. She turned and stepped away from the canyon, moving toward the horizon. The light around her shimmered, and for a brief moment, Elias could have sworn he saw wings, ethereal and glowing. Then she was gone, swallowed by the dusk. Elias stood there for a long time, staring at the empty canyon. The wind carried whispers of energy, faint and melodic. He felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. He had broken protocol. He had acted on instinct and compassion, but he could not deny that it had been the right thing to do. When he returned to the outpost, his colleagues stared at him with confusion and suspicion. "Where is she?" one of them demanded. "She's gone," Elias said simply. "I released her." There was a tense silence. The outpost leader shook his head. "You have no idea what you've done. That energy field is dangerous. The consequences could be catastrophic." Elias met their eyes calmly. "Or it could be the first step toward understanding something incredible. She is intelligent. She is not a threat, at least not as long as we act with respect." The next few days were quiet, almost eerily so. The scanners no longer picked up the intense energy pulses in the canyon. The wind seemed to carry a softer tone, almost like a lullaby. Yet Elias could not shake the feeling that the alien woman had left something behind, an awareness, a presence that lingered in the air. He returned to the canyon several times, scanning, observing, hoping for a sign. Sometimes he thought he saw a shimmer in the distance, like a reflection in water, but when he approached, there was nothing. Despite warnings from the outpost, Elias began to feel a sense of connection with Korath 9 itself. It was as if releasing her had awakened something, not just in her, but in the planet. The strange hum in the air seemed more pronounced, more deliberate. Equipment that had been unreliable suddenly worked flawlessly, as if the energy around them had shifted. One evening, as Elias stood on a cliff edge watching the violet sunset, he felt a strange vibration beneath his feet. Not an earthquake, but a pulse, a rhythm that seemed alive. He closed his eyes and listened. The wind carried a faint melodic tone, almost like a voice, though no words were spoken. He realized, with a mixture of awe and apprehension, that releasing her had changed more than one life. It had changed the planet, perhaps even the universe. And somewhere in the vastness of Korath 9, the alien woman moved freely, carrying something Elias could not yet understand. For the first time, he felt truly alive in the galaxy, not as a scientist bound by rules, but as a human capable of compassion, courage, and choice. Little did he know, her return would bring something no one could have predicted, a gift that would challenge humanity's understanding of life, technology, and morality. For now, he could only wait, heart pounding with anticipation and hope, knowing that some connections were meant to last longer than a single encounter. The stars above Korath 9 twinkled as if in silent approval, and the wind whispered, carrying promises of the extraordinary yet to come. Days had passed since Dr. Elias Trent had released the alien woman from the shimmering energy field on Korath 9. The canyon where she had been held was silent now, the strange energy pulses reduced to a faint hum, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. Despite the quiet, Elias could not shake the feeling that her presence lingered, invisible but unmistakable, as if the planet itself remembered her. The outpost had returned to its normal rhythm, but the atmosphere was tense. His colleagues watched him with suspicion. Protocols had been broken, warnings had been ignored, and yet Elias had acted on instinct. "You've put us all at risk," the outpost leader, Commander Harlow, said, pacing the lab floor. His voice was sharp but not entirely angry. There was fear mixed with curiosity. Elias shook his head calmly. "I did what I thought was right. She is intelligent and she deserves freedom. The energy field was not meant to harm her. It was a prison." Harlow's eyes narrowed. "And what if she comes back angry, or worse? You don't know what kind of species she is, what powers she may have." Elias considered this. True, the alien woman's abilities were unknown, but the way she had looked at him, the calm, deliberate focus in her luminous eyes, was not threatening. It was as if she understood the human heart, or at least his. Over the next few days, strange things began to occur around the outpost. Small incidents at first, tools misplaced and then found in perfect order, instruments that had been malfunctioning suddenly working flawlessly. Even the lab computers seemed to operate faster, responding almost before Elias could type. His colleagues were both alarmed and amazed. "I don't understand," muttered Dr. Lin, the lead engineer. "It's like the place is alive." Elias nodded slowly. He felt it too, the subtle shifts in the environment. The air itself seemed charged, humming with energy that resonated deep in his chest. Every so often, he thought he saw glimpses of movement in the corner of his eye, shimmering lights, fleeting shadows, as if someone, or something, was watching. At first, he tried to ignore it. Rational explanations were possible. Optical illusions, sensor errors, fatigue from long days. But deep down, Elias knew better. The alien woman had left an impression on the world and perhaps even on him. One evening, Elias decided to take a walk along the cliff edge near the canyon. The violet sky glowed softly as the twin moons of Korath 9 rose into the heavens. He breathed deeply, letting the crisp air fill his lungs, and felt an odd mixture of peace and anticipation. Something was coming. He could feel it, though he did not know what. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye, a brief shimmer near the canyon's edge, like sunlight reflecting off water. He froze, heart pounding. The shape moved with grace and purpose, then vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Impossible," he whispered, though part of him believed what he had seen. Back at the outpost, the team was busy with research, but whispers circulated. Some claimed they had seen shadows move where no one should be. Others insisted equipment had been mysteriously fixed. A sense of tension grew, mingled with awe. Elias spent long nights in the lab, analyzing data, but he could not stop thinking about the alien woman. She had been free for days, yet he wondered what she was doing. Was she exploring the planet, observing them, or preparing something they could not yet understand? One night, as Elias reviewed his scans, a sudden spike of energy pulsed through the canyon's sensors. He jumped to his feet. The readings were unlike anything he had seen before, stable yet intensely powerful, focused yet impossible to predict. "Commander, you need to see this," Elias called, urgency in his voice. Harlow and the team gathered around the display. Their eyes widened at the readings. What is it?" Harlow asked, disbelief in his tone. "I don't know," Elias admitted. "It's coming from the canyon, and I think she's there." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Some wanted to investigate immediately, while others hesitated, recalling the warnings and protocols they had been trained to follow. Elias felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. If she had returned, how would they react? Over the next day, strange occurrences intensified. Drones sent into the canyon reported no solid life forms, but the energy fields pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Sensors recorded fluctuations in gravity, temperature, and electromagnetic activity that defied known physics. Elias documented everything meticulously, fascinated. He began to notice something more personal. Items in his lab would shift ever so slightly, pens aligned, papers stacked neatly. He found tools perfectly arranged on benches where he had left them scattered. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable. Someone or something was paying attention. Late one night, Elias walked the perimeter of the outpost again. The twin moons bathed the rocky cliffs in soft light. A gentle wind stirred around him, carrying a sound that was almost melodic. He paused, listening carefully. The melody seemed familiar, though he had never heard anything like it. It was as if the wind itself were alive, singing a song of welcome and recognition. A faint glow appeared in the distance, near the canyon. It was delicate, like a trail of starlight winding across the jagged rocks. Elias stepped closer, heart racing. The glow moved gracefully, and for a brief moment he thought he could see the outline of the alien woman. She did not speak, did not approach directly, but her presence was undeniable. Elias returned to the outpost, shaken but exhilarated. He could not explain what he had seen. Rationality failed him. But deep down, he knew she had returned, not to harm, but to communicate in her own mysterious way. Days turned into a week, and the unease among the team grew. Equipment anomalies persisted, shadows flitted at the edge of vision, and the faint hum in the canyon remained. The scientists debated whether to investigate further or leave Korath 9 entirely. But Elias insisted on studying the phenomena. He felt a responsibility, not just to science, but to the alien woman herself. One afternoon, while examining energy readings near the canyon edge, Elias noticed a pattern emerging. The pulses were not random. They followed a rhythm, accelerating and slowing in response to human movement. He realized that the alien woman, or the energy she controlled, was reacting to them, observing them, perhaps even testing their reactions. He called the team together. "She's intelligent," Elias said. "She's observing us." Everything that's happening, equipment working better, subtle shifts in the environment, it's her way of communicating, or at least testing us. Harlow frowned. "Testing us for what?" "I don't know yet," Elias admitted. but I believe she's trying to understand us as much as we are trying to understand her. That night, Elias could not sleep. He stared at the ceiling of his quarters, thinking about the alien woman and the strange energy that now seemed woven into the planet itself. Something profound was unfolding, something that could change humanity's understanding of life and the universe. As he drifted into a light sleep, he dreamed of her, not in the way humans dream of people they know, but in vivid colors, shapes, and melodies that defied language. He felt her presence, strong, calm, and intelligent. He awoke with a start, his heart racing. The dream felt like a message, though its meaning remained a mystery. Over the following days, the outpost experienced more unusual events. Tools moved, instruments stabilized, and the energy readings fluctuated with precision. The team, though wary, began to recognize a pattern of cooperation rather than threat. They could not see her directly, but her influence was undeniable. Elias realized that Korath 9 had changed. It was no longer just a planet. It had become a living, breathing partner in their research. And at the center of this transformation was the alien woman, whose return, even if invisible, was a reminder that life in the universe was far more complex and wondrous than humanity could imagine. By the end of the week, a sense of uneasy peace settled over the outpost. The alien woman had returned, though she remained unseen, leaving only signs of her presence. Equipment worked perfectly, the planet seemed responsive, and the air carried a faint, melodic hum. Elias understood that this was only the beginning. The alien woman had come back for a reason, and humanity's next choices would determine whether this encounter would be a gift or a lesson. He stood on the cliff edge one last time before reporting to the team, watching the twin moons reflect on the jagged rocks. Somewhere in the distance, she moved freely, observing, learning, and perhaps preparing for what was to come. Elias felt both excitement and fear. The universe was vast and full of unknowns, yet he also felt a spark of hope. Humanity had a chance to meet the alien woman not with fear, but with curiosity, respect, and courage. The stars twinkled above Korath 9, as if silently watching, and the wind whispered a melody that promised that the extraordinary was just beginning. The wind on Korath 9 carried a strange electricity that morning, brushing across the cliffs with a sound almost like a song. Doctor. Elias Trent felt it even before he reached the canyon edge, a subtle vibration that ran through his feet and up his spine. For a week he had been waiting, hoping, wondering when, or if the alien woman would return. Now he sensed she was near. The outpost was unusually quiet. His colleagues, still wary after the previous encounters, worked cautiously, double-checking instruments and recording readings. The scanners had detected energy fluctuations earlier that morning, much stronger than before, but they had faded by the time Elias arrived. Yet standing at the edge of the cliff, he could feel the hum growing, rising, and falling like a heartbeat. "Something is happening," he whispered to himself as he activated his portable sensors. The readings spiked immediately, showing high levels of energy converging near the canyon. Elias took a deep breath. He had been right all along. She was back. Then he saw it, a flash of brilliant light like a star had descended from the sky. The glow intensified, spreading across the rocks like liquid silver. For a moment he thought the sun itself had fallen, and the ground trembled slightly beneath his feet. From within the light she appeared. The alien woman stepped forward, no longer hidden, no longer invisible. Her skin shimmered like polished crystal, reflecting the twin moons, light even though the sun had just risen. Her eyes glowed with intelligence and calm authority. She carried an object in her hands, wrapped in a faint aura of soft energy that pulsed gently. Elias froze. The team had rushed to his side, eyes wide in shock and awe. "It's her," whispered Dr. Lin, barely able to speak. "She's real." The alien woman's gaze swept over them, landing finally on Elias. She did not speak, but her presence conveyed a clear message. This was important, and he must pay attention. Elias stepped forward carefully, every instinct alert, every sense on edge. What is she carrying?" one of the engineers asked, voice trembling. "I don't know," Elias said, his own voice quiet, almost reverent. "But it's something extraordinary. I can feel it." She stopped a few meters away, the object in her hands glowing softly. The energy around it was unlike anything Elias had ever measured. It responded to his very thoughts, humming when he imagined touching it, pulsing when he focused on its form. Slowly, she set the object down on a flat rock. Light expanded outward from it, forming a dome of shimmering energy that encompassed the immediate area. The outpost team stepped back instinctively, but Elias held his ground. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind was sharp, alert, ready for anything. The alien woman moved closer, and with a gesture of her hand, the dome of light expanded further, revealing intricate patterns within the object. It was not a weapon, nor was it a tool in any human sense. It seemed alive, shifting, and adapting, as if waiting for someone to understand its purpose. Elias knelt to examine it, careful not to touch it until he fully understood. His scanners went wild, reading energy levels, structural changes, and electromagnetic pulses that defied conventional physics. He had never seen anything like it. "She brought this for us," he said slowly, almost to himself. "But why?" The alien woman raised her hand slightly, pointing at the device, then back to Elias. Her movements were deliberate, precise. He understood that she was communicating without words. She wanted them to study it, to learn from it, to understand its potential. Over the next hours, the team gathered around, documenting everything. Elias noticed subtle changes in the alien woman's expression as they worked. She seemed pleased when they approached carefully, and distant when they argued or acted impatiently. It was as if she could sense human behavior, morality, curiosity, patience, and respond accordingly. Dr. Lin reached out toward the device, but the alien woman's hand stopped him mid-motion, glowing softly. Elias realized she was testing them, measuring their intentions. It was not enough to be clever, they had to be careful, respectful, and disciplined. Elias nodded to his team. "Step back, observe first, understand her rules." As they studied the object, patterns emerged. The energy shifted in response to thought, movement, and intention. It could amplify their technology, stabilize systems, and even store vast amounts of energy. Elias realized that this was not just a gift. It was an invitation to explore possibilities humanity had never imagined. Over the next several days, the alien woman remained with them, observing silently, guiding subtly. She would not speak in words, but her gestures, her gaze, even her presence seemed to communicate volumes. She was teaching them, showing them that knowledge came not just from brute force, but from understanding, patience, and creativity. One evening, Elias noticed something extraordinary. The device responded not only to human thought, but to emotion. When he approached it with calm curiosity, it pulsed steadily, releasing waves of energy that stabilized the outpost's instruments, and even repaired minor damage caused by earlier storms. But when someone approached with fear or aggression, the energy shifted erratically, almost defensive. "This is remarkable," Elias said softly. "It's alive in a way we can understand." The alien woman's eyes seemed to gleam at his words. It was not pride she showed, but recognition. She had tested humanity's patience and courage, and now she allowed them to witness the power she had entrusted. One day, a strong storm approached the outpost. Winds howled like wild beasts, and lightning cracked across the violet sky. Normally, this would have caused severe damage, but Elias and his team noticed something incredible. The device projected a protective energy field, shielding the lab, the equipment, and even the personnel. The team was awestruck. "It's like it's protecting us," said one engineer. "Yes," Elias said, heart racing, "she is protecting us. She's showing us that this gift isn't just power, it's trust." At night, as the twin moons rose, Elias walked to the cliff edge, gazing at the alien woman. She stood silently watching him, the device glowing softly at her side. The wind carried a soft melody again, faint but unmistakable. Elias realized it was her way of communicating gratitude. "She trusts us," he whispered, "and we must not betray that trust." The alien woman had returned, not as a threat, but as a teacher. Humanity had been given a chance to grow, to learn, and to rise beyond what they thought possible. Elias understood that this was more than technology. It was a reflection of their choices, a test of their character. Days turned into a week. The team continued to study the device, discovering applications that could revolutionize energy, medicine, and transportation. The alien woman watched, silently approving when they acted thoughtfully, retreating when they rushed or became careless. Elias realized that her gift was not merely physical, it was moral and intellectual. It required humans to act with creativity, responsibility, and integrity. Only then could its full potential be unlocked. One evening, the alien woman approached Elias alone. She did not speak, but she extended a glowing hand toward him, the device hovering slightly between them. Elias understood. She was inviting him to engage directly, to take the first step in learning from her gift. He reached out and the device responded, shifting and pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. A wave of understanding passed through him, images and sensations of energy flows, of systems working in harmony, of knowledge waiting to be unlocked. It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. He realized that humanity's next steps would not be easy. The gift required responsibility, patience, and courage, but it also promised a chance to surpass limitations, to grow in ways previously thought impossible. As Elias looked at her, he felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the alien woman, but to the universe itself. She had returned with a gift, yes, but more importantly, she had returned with a challenge, a reminder that human potential was boundless when guided by intelligence, morality, and courage. The outpost team continued their work, inspired, cautious, and eager. They knew this was only the beginning. The alien woman had come back, and now humanity had a choice: to embrace her gift wisely or risk losing the opportunity forever. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the cliffs and the violet skies, the planet itself seemed to hum in approval, as if celebrating the arrival of a new chapter for humans, one where courage, compassion, and intellect could shape the future. Elias stood with the alien woman at the cliff edge, feeling the soft pulse of the device in his hands, knowing that everything had changed. Humanity had been tested, and now a gift unlike any other awaited them. The stars twinkled above Korath 9, silent witnesses to the extraordinary encounter, as the alien woman's presence lingered like a promise. That knowledge, trust, and courage could create miracles, and that the universe was far more wondrous than anyone had ever imagined. Alien woman had remained at the outpost for several days, silent yet ever-present, her eyes bright with intelligence and curiosity. Dr. Elias Trent could feel the weight of her gaze even when she did not look directly at him. The device she had brought pulsed softly, casting a gentle light across the lab, as if it were alive and aware of their every action. Elias gathered his team early that morning. "Today we begin to understand the gift," he said, his voice steady. "It's more than a tool. It's a challenge, a lesson, and an opportunity. We need to approach it carefully, thoughtfully, and respectfully." The team circled the glowing object, examining its structure. At first glance, it appeared simple, a smooth, crystalline orb roughly the size of a human fist. But as their instruments measured its energy, they discovered layers of complexity they could not yet comprehend. It seemed to respond to thought, movement, and even emotion. "Doctor." Lynn leaned closer, scanning the device. "It's amazing," she murmured. "The energy it produces, it's stable yet flexible. It adapts. It feels alive." Elias nodded. "Exactly, and I think she wants us to understand that life and energy are connected. That intelligence isn't just about survival. It's about creativity, choice, and responsibility." Over the next several hours, the team experimented carefully. They observed that when someone approached the device with patience and curiosity, the energy responded harmoniously. Instruments stabilized, power levels balanced themselves, and subtle patterns appeared in the light. But if someone acted hastily, with frustration or fear, the energy pulsed erratically, almost as if warning them. Elias realized that this gift was not just about technology, it was a reflection of humanity itself. It responded to character, to the intent and morality of those who interacted with it. The alien woman observed quietly, her luminous eyes following every movement. When the team paused, confused or uncertain, she would gesture gently, guiding them without words. Sometimes it was a tilt of her head, a subtle wave of her hand, or a shift in her glowing aura. Elias began to understand that her guidance was deliberate. She was teaching them patience, cooperation, and insight. As days passed, the team discovered more of the device's abilities. It could generate energy far beyond what their solar arrays could produce, stabilize systems during storms, and even repair damaged machinery. But it did not simply perform tasks automatically. It required understanding, focus, and intention. It rewarded creativity, problem-solving, and ethical decision-making. Elias spent long hours at the device, learning to sense its rhythms and respond to its subtle cues. He discovered that it could store vast amounts of energy, channel it with precision, and even create localized fields that altered gravity or density. Yet the most remarkable feature was its responsiveness to human thought and emotion. One afternoon, while experimenting with a simple energy transfer, Elias noticed a small anomaly. The device pulsed differently when he thought about helping someone versus thinking about himself. He tested this by focusing on stabilizing a nearby drone, then on adjusting the energy flow to a sensor array. Each time, the device responded more efficiently when his thoughts were directed toward cooperation and care. He called the team together. "It's reacting to our choices," he explained. "It's not just energy, it's intelligence. It measures intent, understanding, and morality. This is incredible. She didn't just bring us technology, she brought us a mirror of ourselves." The alien woman seemed to nod at his words, her glowing eyes reflecting the device's pulsing light. Elias felt a deep respect for her wisdom. She had returned not to give them power blindly, but to challenge them to grow. As the team continued their work, they discovered that the device could be adapted for multiple uses. It could amplify communication signals, allowing instantaneous transmission over vast distances. It could enhance medical equipment, stabilizing patients and aiding recovery. It could even help in construction, manipulating matter subtly to assist in building structures. Yet every time they tried to use it recklessly, the device resisted. It pulsed erratically, forcing them to reconsider their approach. Elias realized that its true purpose was not convenience or domination, but teaching. Humanity's next steps would not be easy. They had to prove that they were capable of responsibility and wisdom. One evening, Elias stood by the cliff edge, looking at the distant canyon. The alien woman approached quietly, her presence calming yet powerful. She gestured toward the device, then toward the sky. Elias understood. She was showing him that the gift was only the beginning. It was not the end of learning, but the doorway to it. He turned back to the outpost, thinking of the team. Each person had been tested in subtle ways through their interaction with the device. Some had shown impatience or fear, others curiosity and cooperation. The device had revealed their strengths and weaknesses, not to punish, but to guide. Over the next several days, Elias worked to create a system of training around the device. He encouraged his team to approach it thoughtfully, to observe, to experiment, and to learn from mistakes. The alien woman watched silently, occasionally guiding them but never interfering directly. One morning, Elias noticed a pattern emerging in the device's energy pulses. It was as if it was teaching them a rhythm, a language of light and sound. Each pulse corresponded to a reaction, a choice, or an outcome. He began to realize that the device was not just reactive, it could communicate if they learned to listen. He shared his discovery with the team. "This is incredible. It's teaching us step by step how to understand energy, thought, and intent. We're learning a new form of communication, one that goes beyond words." The alien woman stepped closer, her hand hovering over the device. She pulsed softly, and the patterns on the orb shifted, forming shapes that resembled constellations. Elias felt a wave of comprehension pass through him. It was a message, though not in words. Understanding comes through observation, patience, and ethical choices. The team worked tirelessly, learning from the device and from the alien woman. Slowly, they began to grasp its potential. They realized it could stabilize entire ecosystems, provide clean energy for entire cities, and even help prevent natural disasters. But all of this required wisdom, coordination, and foresight. The device was powerful, but only when used responsibly. Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility. This was not just technology, it was a test of humanity's ability to rise to the challenge. The alien woman had given them a gift, yes, but she had also given them a task, to prove that they could use it wisely. One night, Elias sat by the device alone. The alien woman stood nearby, her eyes glowing softly. He reached out, and the device pulsed gently in response. Images and sensations filled his mind, visions of energy flowing across landscapes, of machines and humans working in harmony, of lives improved through thoughtful use of this gift. He realized that the device was a reflection of human potential. It required morality, creativity, and cooperation. Without these, it could not function fully. The alien woman had returned with a gift, but the true test lay not in receiving it, but in understanding it, respecting it, and using it to better the universe. Over the next week, the team continued their work. Slowly, they developed new applications, each guided by the principles the alien woman had silently taught: patience, observation, collaboration, and ethical reasoning. They created systems that could provide clean energy, improve medical treatments, and stabilize environmental conditions. Each success was small yet monumental, a step forward for humanity on Korath 9. The alien woman's presence remained constant. She rarely spoke, yet every action, every gesture was meaningful. Elias understood that her gift was not only technological but philosophical. She was teaching them how to think, how to choose, and how to act in ways that would ensure their survival and growth. One evening, as the twin moons rose in the violet sky, Elias approached the alien woman. "We are learning," he said softly, "not just about the device but about ourselves." She tilted her head, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a moment, it felt as if they shared the same understanding, the same insight. Elias knew that she had returned not just to give them a gift, but to guide them, to show humanity what they could achieve when intelligence, morality, and creativity worked together. The stars twinkled above Korath 9, as if observing silently. The wind carried the faint melodic hum that had accompanied her presence from the beginning. Elias smiled, feeling a deep sense of hope. Humanity had been given a chance to rise, to learn, and to grow. And with careful thought, courage, and compassion, they could honor the gift the alien woman had entrusted to them. In the quiet moments of the night, Elias stood by the cliff edge, gazing at the glowing device and the alien woman nearby. He realized that the future depended not just on technology, but on the choices they made, the lessons they learned, and the wisdom they cultivated. The alien woman's gift was not simply a tool, it was a mirror, a guide, and a promise. And humanity, for the first time, had the opportunity to prove that they were ready for the challenges of the universe. The days on Korath 9 had grown tense and expectant. Dr. Elias Trent and his team had learned much from the alien woman and the device she had brought. But the true test of humanity's ability to use the gift responsibly was yet to come. The alien woman remained calm and silent, her presence a constant reminder that their choices mattered, that every action carried weight. It began with the arrival of a rival exploration team from a powerful interstellar corporation. Their ships descended from the violet skies, sleek and armed, equipped for extraction rather than exploration. Their goal was clear: seize the device and claim its power for profit without understanding or care for its purpose. Elias watched from the cliff edge as the intruders landed. His heart pounded, but he did not panic. He knew that brute force was not the solution. The alien woman's gift required intelligence, cooperation, and ethical reasoning. Humanity's strength was not in weapons, but in courage, strategy, and creativity. The intruders stormed the outpost, demanding the device. "Step aside," their leader shouted through a translator. "That object belongs to us, hand it over." Elias stepped forward, calm but firm. "You don't understand what you're asking for. This device is not a tool for power or profit. It is a responsibility, and it will not respond to greed or fear." The intruders laughed, dismissing his warning. Machines powered up, and energy weapons glowed ominously. Elias glanced at the alien woman who stood silently behind the device, her eyes glowing with quiet authority. He turned back to his team. "Remember what we've learned: patience, intelligence, cooperation. We can't fight them with force alone. We must outthink them." The battle began, not of weapons, but of wit and strategy. Elias and his team moved methodically, using the terrain to their advantage, guiding the alien device with subtle thought and intention. Energy fields pulsed around them, not in anger but in protection, stabilizing structures and creating barriers that slowed the intruders without harming them. The intruders were confused. Every attempt to grab the device failed, as if an invisible force resisted them. Their machines malfunctioned under the influence of the device's energy, not violently, but efficiently, protecting the outpost while discouraging aggression. Elias realized that the alien woman had anticipated this challenge. She had prepared them to face danger not through force, but through understanding, intelligence, and teamwork. Humanity's true power, she had shown, lay in strategy, patience, and ethical action. As the conflict continued, the alien device responded more actively. It created pathways of energy that allowed Elias and his team to maneuver safely, repair critical systems instantly, and protect one another. Every action they took was mirrored by the device, teaching them that cooperation amplified strength and thoughtless aggression led to failure. At one point, a member of the rival team attempted to grab the device directly. The energy field pulsed violently, but not to harm. The force simply prevented the intrusion, redirecting the intruder harmlessly but firmly away. Elias saw this and nodded. The device was acting according to its principles, protecting those who respected it and guiding them toward understanding. Hours passed, and the intruders grew frustrated. Their aggression and impatience caused their own machines to fail repeatedly. Elias and his team moved calmly, thinking carefully about each step, communicating silently through gestures and glances, fully in tune with one another and the alien device. Finally, Elias called the team together. "It's time for the final step," he said quietly. "We must show that we are worthy, not through violence, but through wisdom and unity." He focused on the device, centering his thoughts on clarity, cooperation, and protection. The alien woman stepped closer, her glowing aura merging with the device's light. Together, they created a harmonic field that enveloped the outpost. The energy was not destructive, it did not harm anyone, but it was persuasive, guiding the intruders to retreat. The field seemed to communicate, a silent but firm message. Those who act with greed and violence are not welcome, but those who act with respect and intelligence are honored. The rival team, overwhelmed by the experience and unable to grasp the device's power, finally withdrew. Their ships lifted from the cliffs, retreating into the violet sky. Elias and his team watched them go, relief and triumph washing over them. They had succeeded not through combat, but through intelligence, cooperation, and moral courage. The alien woman's eyes met Elias's. For the first time, she moved closer and touched the device gently. A wave of light spread across the outpost, stabilizing every system, repairing minor damages, and restoring calm to the environment. It was a gesture of approval, a silent acknowledgement that humanity had passed the test. Elias felt a deep sense of awe. "We did it," he whispered. "Not with force, but with wisdom, we proved ourselves." The alien woman stepped back, her gaze sweeping over the team. She gestured toward the device, then toward the stars above Korath 9. Elias understood immediately. The gift was not just for them, not just for this planet. It was an invitation to humanity to rise, to explore, and to use intelligence, morality, and creativity to shape the future. In the following days, Elias and his team worked tirelessly to understand the full potential of the device. They discovered applications that could transform energy production, stabilize ecosystems, and improve life on countless worlds. Each new discovery required collaboration, patience, and ethical reasoning, principles the alien woman had been teaching them all along. Elias felt a growing sense of responsibility. Humanity had been given an extraordinary gift, but it was more than technology. It was a moral test, a challenge to prove that they could handle power wisely. Every decision mattered, and every action had consequences. One evening, as the twin moons rose and cast violet light across the cliffs, Elias approached the alien woman. "Thank you," he said softly. "Not just for the gift, but for teaching us. We understand now that power alone is meaningless without wisdom and integrity." She regarded him silently, her eyes glowing with approval. Then, in a gesture that was almost ceremonial, she raised her hand toward the stars. A shimmering portal appeared behind her, swirling with light and energy. Elias understood that her time with them was coming to an end. "We've learned so much," he said. "We promise to use this gift wisely, to protect life and to grow responsibly." The alien woman nodded slightly, and Elias felt a deep connection, a shared understanding that transcended language. Then slowly she stepped through the portal, carrying the device. For a moment she looked back, her luminous eyes meeting his one final time, and then she was gone, leaving behind a world forever changed. The outpost team gathered together, awe and determination shining in their faces. Elias held the now stabilized device, feeling its pulse, its energy, and its promise. Humanity had been tested, and they had succeeded. Not through aggression, not through fear, but through intelligence, patience, and moral courage. In the following months, the team began to apply the lessons they had learned. They developed systems to provide clean energy to distant colonies, medical devices that could stabilize patients in ways previously impossible, and environmental tools to repair damaged ecosystems. Every step required thoughtfulness and collaboration, reinforcing the lessons the alien woman had taught them. Elias often returned to the cliff edge, gazing at the horizon. Somewhere out there, the alien woman existed freely, watching, guiding, perhaps preparing for another lesson in the future. But for now, humanity had been given a chance to prove itself, to rise, and to embrace the potential within them. The stars above Korath 9 twinkled as if in silent approval. The wind carried a soft, melodic hum, a reminder of the alien woman's presence and the lessons she had imparted. Elias smiled, filled with hope and determination. Humanity had stepped forward, not as conquerors, but as learners, thinkers, and caretakers. The alien woman's gift was more than technology. It was a mirror, reflecting the best qualities of humanity: intelligence, compassion, creativity, and courage. And in embracing those qualities, humans had shown that they were capable of greatness. As Elias watched the twin moons rise into the violet sky, he knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity now had a chance, not just to survive, but to thrive, to explore, and to grow beyond their limits. And somewhere far beyond the cliffs of Korath 9, the alien woman smiled, her mission complete, her gift delivered, and her faith in humanity affirmed. Elias turned to his team, eyes bright with determination. "We have work to do," he said. "Not just for ourselves, but for everyone who will come after us. The universe is waiting, and now we are ready." The wind whispered across the cliffs, carrying a melody of hope, courage, and promise. The stars above shone brightly, witness to a new chapter in humanity's journey. And for the first time, Elias truly understood. Humanity had not just received a gift, they had risen to meet it. Korath 9, once a silent, distant world, had become the proving ground for humanity's courage, intelligence, and heart. And as the alien woman's presence faded into memory, her lessons endured, guiding humans toward a future where they could shape the universe with wisdom, compassion, and creativity.